الله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. Last night we started Kitab al-Salat al-Eidain, the book of the two Eids, the prayer of the two Eids. And we mentioned many rulings, many fawaid, and many different points of reflection pertaining to the Eid and its prayer. And the symbolicism of the Eid to any religion, to any culture, and to any race. The concept of a holiday, a holy day, a festive day. Independence Day, right? 4th of July, Saudi National Day, Yom Watani, right? The day in which this country won its independence from Great Britain, or France, or Germany, or Belgium, or whatever the case may be, right? St. Valentine's Day, Christmas, Thanksgiving, Halloween, Hallows Eve, Caribbean Day Festival, right? It goes all Adun Day, all the way around the board, right? It goes what? All the way around the board. Unfortunately, for one reason or another, last night we lost the audio. Qadarallahu ma sha fa'al. We did the best that we could. These things happen. And we weren't able to back it up for one reason or another. So we'll just make a brief summary of what we discussed last night. The first thing that we discussed was the importance of the Eid in any religion, in any culture, as we said, let alone in Islam. The Islamic religion and also the Islamic culture and the Muslim culture, whether it be the Middle East or other than the Middle East. We discussed all of that. And the different things that pertain to imitating the kuffar. And is it permissible for people to make up their own Eids? Is the Eid religious, or is it just traditional and customary? Which of the two is the right understanding? Can we say this holiday isn't a religious holiday, it has nothing to do with the deen, so we can just do it? Whether we say Saudi National Day or Thanksgiving or Halloween. It has nothing to do with religion, a person may say. It's just a secular celebration. Is that permissible? What is the defining line between a bid'ah and between an ada, mubaha? Okay? And we said that oftentimes the people's ijtihad can differ, and it's not always consistent and parallel. Okay? But is that the proper understanding of those texts? That just because it isn't religious, it's okay to make up and to make a standard formal day, a standard and formal celebration over and over again. Having a baby shower. Can we have a get-together? Is it permissible to say every Sunday morning we're going to have a fajr talk and we're going to have breakfast? Is that a bid'ah? Did the Prophet ﷺ make that time specific? So their ins and their what? They're out. So with regards to having an Eid, what is and what isn't an Eid, and what can and cannot be made up, right? And how the Muslims must keep their own identity and be specific and special from that of the non-Muslims, the polytheists, the mushrikeen, the Jews, and the Christians. Also, the different ahkam of the Eidain. I'm not talking about the philosophical stuff, right? Is the Eid obligatory to attend? Are menstruating women allowed to go to the Eid? Do they sit on the musalla or do they sit away from the musalla? Is that a proof that menstruating women are not allowed to enter into the masjid? Whereas the Prophet ﷺ says, فَأَمَّا الْحُيَّدْ فَتَعْتَزِلُ الْمُصَلَّى. Or أَمَّا الْحَائِدْ, the menstruating woman or women are to avoid the musalla. Alright, what's the permissibility of wearing expensive things on the Eid? Is it the sunnah to buy new clothes for the Eid? Is that the sunnah? Or is it the sunnah to wear the best that you already have? Big difference between the two, right? Huge difference. Between every year going out and buying brand new things and between a person wearing the best of what they already have. Are you understanding this? Something that we didn't mention last night about extravagance and being a spendthrift. Is it permissible to buy expensive things just for the Eid? Or I bought some new things throughout the year. This is the best that I have. The best sneakers, the best thobe, the best shoes. I understand this the shiniest what? Bling I got, but I'm not going out and what? Specifically for the Eid. I'm going to rock them this year. I'm going to kill them. Get the sushi socks, right? The brown wallabies, da da da. Is that permissible? Huh? Everyone understand this? And many problems can come from that. It also goes to show you the danger, once more, of people saying that certain things are haram and impermissible. Everybody understand this? Do you take a ghusl for the Eid? Is it obligatory to make a ghusl? Is it recommended to make a ghusl? Do you have to skip work? Is Jum'ah on Eid? If you go to Jum'ah, should you take off of work? All of those, these are different masail fiqhiyah that pertain to what? The Eid and the salah of the what? Of the Eid. The takbirat, before and after the 5 prayers. Is it permissible for us to make the takbir all in unison? That's a very big piece of contradiction, huh? Doctor? They say you can't make dua together in a circle, you can't make dua in unison. But on the Eid, what do the people do? Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allah. Huh? And you can't just say, oh, well, the people, they did it by accident. Everyone is doing what? One tone. You know when he's going to start, you know when he's going to what? Stop. Is that from the Sunnah to do that? When do you make the takbirat? All right? I tell you, do women make the takbirat out loud? What heck that? The rulings of the what? Of the Eidain. Can we have a rain check? Should the Eid be prayed outside or in a building or in a musalla? What is this? Is this a masjid, a jami, or a musalla? Which of the 3? Most masjids around the world, are they actually masjids? Or are they musallas? Everyone understand this? Is it permissible? Is it from the Sunnah to go outside and pray the Eid when it's cold outside? I've prayed the Eid outside when it's cold. A few times. I wasn't leading when I was younger. There was a masjid in Philadelphia in which the imam would never pray inside, ever. He would always go to the park, even if it was cold. December, January. Remember when Ramadan was in the winter? He would pray outside every single time. And the khutbah would be short. So the people wouldn't have to sit out there and freeze. It'd be a small, quick 10-minute khutbah. Khalas. Done. Everyone understand this? Or some people, they complained in Queens a couple years ago about the sun. The brother said the khutbah was too long. He said the women are sitting in the sun, akhi, they're going to melt. Huh? La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Allahul musta'an, huh? What is the ruling of dressing fancy for the Eid? Wearing makeup, high heels, tabarruj. Is that the way of the Salaf? If I went to your Eid, Abdul Raqib, your Eid that you're hosting, how many women covered in properly would be at your Eid? That's a real question now. This masjid is a deviant. We don't go there. We don't pray there. We don't cooperate with this one. Oh, we don't like this brother. When I go to your Eid, how many women are what? Wearing flashy, colorful things. High heel shoes, all types of outfits and costumes. Am I making this up? Or we go to another place. We go to the park, in which the brothers are sitting in the park after the Eid. How many women are out there with their ears out? And high heel shoes on and tight garments. Where's the inkar at? Where's the madhab as-salaf now? You don't say anything. You sit down, you drink, you play football, and that's it. And no one says anything about those women that are clearly covered what? Improperly, severely. Everyone understand this? So you have to be mindful of all of these different rulings when it comes to the Eid. All right? Do you make inkar on them? Does that not anger Allah? Is that not displeasing to Ar-Rahman? Or is only just bid'ah? The only thing that Allah hates is what? Is innovation. That's it. The only thing that will take you to the fire of hell is what? Innovation. Nothing else. Everything else is what? And this is another manifestation of al-irja'. The aqeedah of irja'. Another subtle, sneaky manifestation of it. Whether the people realize it or what? Or not. Wala hawla wala quwwata illa billah. Okay? Is it permissible to get your face shaven for the Eid? I want to look nice. I want to look young. I want to smell fresh. I want to look boyish. I don't want no stubble face, right? I want to have a baby. I want to be professional for the Eid, right? What's the ruling on that? Shaving your beard for the Eid. Okay? What should the khutbah be about? How long should it be? What should the imam talk about? Wahakada. These are all rulings of what? Of the Eid. What do you do if you have more than one wife? Who goes to the Eid this year? Rock, paper, scissors? Who? You didn't think about that, did you, Sheikh? So you got 4 wives now. Which one goes to what Eid? All of them. Allahu Akbar. That's what I'm talking about. But what if they don't get along, Sheikh? Regardless, they got to get along today. Allahu Akbar. 4 different parks, huh? Who's going to accompany them, though? Huh? They go individually and you go to a 5th. He said, over 20 years, I had more than one wife. And you take them all together, right? Whether you like it, what? Allahu Akbar. Tayyib. Wahakada, right? What's wrong on fighting on the Eid? Co-wives fighting. It has happened before, Sheikh. Or one wife discovers what? The secret, the sleeper cell. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. This is reality, right? Who goes where? The children. Or what if she says, I'll take it, Adha, you take fitr. Or you have children and you're not married to the woman anymore. Where do the children go? You have to plan all of that what? All of that out. They'll go with me this year and they'll go with what? Or what happens when the people are not just separated and split up because of marital issues, but now there's manhaj. Don't take my children to that deviant. I don't want them listening to him. I don't want them going to this masjid. My children cannot listen to the people of what? Innovations. It's all different issues, unfortunately, we all live with today, right? Last but not least, something that we didn't mention last night is the concept of having joint Eids. And we've brought this up many times before. Is it from the Sunnah? Is it permissible? Is it pleasing to Allah for there to be 20 Eids in one city? Is that all right? Now we know there's a real big city. We're in Toronto, huge city, different masjids. Everyone can't come to one location. Every location can't host all of the Muslims of the city. But do we need 25 Eids in one day? Can we not cut them down to 10? Minimize them. 15 Eids. Only 5 Eids. In which we can rent a large place or go to a park. The weather is nice. Or some masjids or some centers are huge and have more than enough space to what? Host everyone. But who's going to give the khutbah? Your imam graduated from a place. Our imam didn't graduate from a place. But the graduate imam, what? Yeah, we don't want him to speak. But the one who didn't study is what? He's a better speaker. Or you're a deviant. They'll say it openly. They won't be hypocritical and scared. He's a deviant. Or they're deviants. We can't what? We can't pray with the deviants on the Eid. We have to pray by ourselves. Or we can all agree no one's a deviant. They both graduated. They both studied. But who's going to take the collections, the sadaqah? This is a real life instance. I'm mentioning from experience. If we have 2 masjids coming together, who's getting the pot, the purse, right? Are we splitting it 60-40? We provided the microphones and the banners, so therefore we take all of the sadaqah. Unfortunately, the things which divide us, right? Or we don't want your imam to speak because he's not of our race. Only the imam from our race can give us the speech today, right? Or the imam will give a talk, but before then, a 10-minute talk will be given by the other imam. So now we have 3 khutbahs. This is unfortunate. So the things which separate us, which split us up, the different problems that we have as Muslims, and oftentimes these things are manifested on the day of the what? Of the Eid. They're manifested on the day of the Eid, right? And the Eid is supposed to be a happy day, a joyous day, a day of joy, and people are supposed to enjoy themselves, right? They're supposed to mention Allah, thank Allah, so on and so forth. Tayyib. We mentioned Hadith number 505 all the way up to 509. And we said that these hadiths prove that the Eid is from the Sunnah. The Eid is legitimate. The Salah and the Khutbah are both legitimate. No one can change that. And that the Salah should come before the Khutbah, not vice versa. The virtue of Bilal, the importance of giving sadaqah, the virtue of the Khulafa al-Rashideen before all of that. The Eid is not abrogated, it's not canceled, it wasn't specific to the Prophet, right? And women giving charity without the permission of their husbands, based off of those hadiths. All right? And many other points as well. Hadith 509, we did that too, I believe. حديث ابن عمر كان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم وأبو بكر وعمر رضي الله عنهما يصلون العيدين قبل الخطبة. Ibn Umar narrated that the Messenger of Allah صلى الله عليه وسلم, Abu Bakr and Umar all used to make the salah before the two khutbahs. طيب. Hadith 510. حديث أبي سعيد الخدري رضي الله عنه قال كان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يخرج يوم الفطر والأضحى إلى المصلى فأول شيء يبدأ به الصلاة ثم ينصرف فيقوم مقابل الناس والناس جلوس على صفوفهم فيعظهم ويوصيهم ويأمرهم فإن كان يريد أن يقطع بعثا قطعه أو يأمر بشيء أمر به ثم ينصرف. قال أبو سعيد فلم يزل الناس على ذلك حتى خرجت مع مروان وهو أمير المدينة في أضحى أو فطر فلما أتينا المصلى إذا منبر بناه كثير ابن الصلت فإذا مروان يريد أن يرتقيه قبل أن يصلي فجذبت بثوبه فجذبني فارتفع فخطب قبل الصلاة فقلت له غيرتم والله فقال أبا سعيد قد ذهب ما تعلم فقلت ما أعلم والله خير مما لا أعلم فقال إن الناس لم يكونوا يجلسون لنا بعد الصلاة فجعلتها قبل الصلاة. Hadith 510 is the narration of Abu Sa'id al-Khudri, who narrated that the Prophet ﷺ used to proceed to the Musalla on the days of Eid al-Fitr and Eid al-Adha. The first thing to begin with was the prayer. And after that he would stand in front of the people and the people would keep sitting in their rows. Then he would preach them, advise them, and give them orders. And after that, if he wished to send an army for an expedition, he would do so. Or if he wanted to give an order, he would do so and then depart. The people followed this legal way till I went out with Marwan, the governor of Al-Madinah, for the prayer of Eid al-Fitr. It says here in Arabic, في أضحى هكذا أضحى قال في أضحى أو فطر. It says either of the two. He wasn't sure. He wasn't sure which one it was, but for sure it was the what? It was the Eid. He says, when he reached the Musalla, there was a pulpit made by Kathir bin As-Salt. Marwan wanted to get up on the pulpit before the Salah. I caught hold of his clothes, but he pulled them free and ascended the pulpit and delivered the khutbah before the Salah. I said to him, by Allah, you have changed. You have changed the Prophet's way. He replied, O Abu Sa'id, go on, is that what you know? I said, by Allah, what I know is better than that what I do not know. Marwan said, people do not sit to listen to our khutbah after the salah, so I delivered the khutbah before the salah. This hadith here is a very interesting hadith, as you can clearly see. And the main lesson from this hadith is doing nothing but solidifying the previous rulings. And that is, the salah is to be done before the sermon. Period. No matter what you think or feel or the people, that is the sunnah, that is the legislation, and not the opposite. Not the what? Not the opposite. Obviously, we can see in this hadith many benefits. From them, what we previously said before, is that there was never ever an absolutely 101% perfect time. There was always someone or something that was wrong or mistaken. There was someone who made a sin, who stole, who made zina, who abused his wife, it was something wrong. And if we say that we can't do this, we won't be able to do this or establish this or make this or change anything until everything is absolutely perfect, that is an excuse for defeatism. That's an excuse for our weakness and our ineptness and our incapability of doing stuff, and we blame it on the sins of the people. Allah won't help us until we do this or this and that. You have to try. You have to try. Okay? And we said that history has proven that that's wrong. There were many Muslims that were triumphant and that won and that established things, and there were mistakes and errors and shortcomings among them. So in the time of Abu Sa'id al-Khudri, who we know is from the companions, one of the 7 most prolific narrators of hadith, he's telling us about how things what? Changed. The ruler, the leader of Medina, changed the rules in front of the people. So if he was going to make something new or make a bid'ah or change something, then what about what? Those who what? And that is the time of the Salaf as-Salih. And this also proves and debunks another myth that many people have been spreading for many years. Everyone who lived during the time of the Salaf as-Salih was not righteous. And every person who was alive during the time of the Salaf as-Salih wasn't a scholar, an alim on the Sunnah. There were innovators in the time of the Salaf. There were sinners in the time of the Salaf. As Imam an-Nawawi, rahimahullah, we read many years ago, he said that some of them, he said, had nifaq. Everyone understand this? So many people, they try to make the idea that it was just walking, talking, spiritual robots. And anyone from the past was from the Salaf as-Salih. That, radiyallahu anhum wa radu an. That's not true. There were people from among them who had what? Problems and errors. No doubt about that. All right? Another important point we see from this hadith is a question that people ask about. Is it permissible to make inkar on the ruler in public? Is it permissible to speak against the mistake or the error of the ruler in public? And they say you can't do that. It's haram. That's khuruj. You're revolting. You're disobeying him. You're going against him with your tongue. Next, you know, there's a physical rebellion. You can't protest, so on and so forth. We clearly see that Abu Sa'id did what? Not only did he say something, but he did what? He pulled his clothes. Huh? Then he said, get off me. Huh? Like, let go, right? He tells somebody, huh? Scram, as we always say, right? Huh? He said, get off of me. He got on the minbar. And then Abu Sa'id, he took it to the next level. فَإِلَّمْ يَسْتَطِعْ فَبِي لِسَانِهِ. If he can't change it with his hand, then what? What is this? This is not the sunnah, huh? And then he went on back and forth and they debated. You understand this? And as we say all the time, the madhab of the Salaf as-Salih is found in the text. What you say, what I say, what this sheikh says, what this imam says, anyone can make that up. The madhab of the Salaf is to do this. The madhab of the Salaf is to say this. The Salaf never disagreed, or they never agreed, or they never. The proof is where? In the pudding. The proof is where? In the pudding, as they say. That's what the proof is. Is it good pudding or bad? Is it quality or bad quality? It's where? It's in the spoon. No other place. Talk is cheap. People make things up. The Salaf did this. They never did that. They never were on this. The proof is what? In these books of hadith. The lives of the Salaf as-Salih. We see what they did and what they what? Did not do. Everyone understand this? And the concept of the way of the Salaf is nothing more than sticking to the pure original what? Text. It's nothing exotic. It's nothing extra. It's nothing fancy. To have good health and to maintain good health, you don't have to eat these cranberry pills and take this medicine and go here and work out like this and eat this and starve yourself. You don't need all of that. You can natural, not full of poison and germs and pesticides. Don't eat too much, don't eat too little. Working out regularly, running, walking, swimming, so on and so forth. Green leafy vegetables. How much spinach, salad do you have? Kale, things like this, right? All of those different pills and medicines and serums, that stuff, it's not the organic way. It's not the what? It's not the organic way. Living healthy and being physically strong isn't some extra what? Exotic type of thing. And the same applies to the way of the Salaf as-Salih. It's nothing other than the basic way of Quran and Sunnah. When the other groups strayed from that and start understanding the text of the Quran and Sunnah in a different way and understanding the Arabic language in a different way, then the people who stuck to the original way were called Ahl al-Sunnah, Ahl al-Hadith, Ahl al-Athar. But there's nothing what? Extra. There's no exotic madhab. The madhab of the Salaf is this principle and that principle and this statement and this and that. Nah. It's nothing more than a kitab and a sunnah. In its pure and original organic way. Dot. Period. اتبعوا ما أنزل إليكم من ربكم ولا تتبعوا من دونه أولياء. Follow what's been sent down to you from your Lord. فلا وربك. Allah says, no, by your Lord, O Muhammad, they don't believe until they make you the judge and that which comes up among them. And then they don't find no لا يجدوا حرجا, no hardship مما قضيت ويسلموا تسليما. And then they make a total submission. And Allah, He tells us in the next verse about those people, huh? If we had decreed upon them, if we had ordained them to kill themselves and to leave their homes, only a few of them would have what? Would have done it. And if they would have done it, لَكَانَ خَيْرٌ لَهُمْ وَأَشَدَّ تَثْبِيتًا. It would have been better for them. and we'd have given them the great reward and guided them to the straight path. The words of Allah are crystal clear. So that is the madhab salaf, is nothing more than the kutub sittah. Muwatta Malik, Musnad Ahmad, that is the madhab salaf. The pure, organic, original Arabic language is the madhab salaf. It's not an extra foreign. And all ulama who came after them, who fought and debated and argued, they did nothing more but explain and summarize and categorize and break down what is already what? There. But there's nothing foreign that they're what? Bringing. And that's what the people have made the people think. That it's something what? From outer space. Something fancy and exotic. No, it's not true. Everyone understand this? So this is what we see what the Salaf did and what they what? What they did not do in the books of Hadith. Tayyib. And there are other benefits that we take from the Hadith, such as not being afraid and not being scared. Also the concept of a person sticking to what he knows. As we say, stick to your guns. Stick to what you know. Marwan said, what you know is gone, meaning the people aren't the same anymore. They're not going to sit here and listen to Abu Bakr and Umar and Uthman. That obedience, that respect, that loyalty to the ruler is no longer what? That's dead. As we say, what? That's what? That's gone. You're living in the past. Abu Sa'id, what did he say? That which I know is better than that which I what? He said what? I'd rather stick with what I know than what you what? Are claiming that I don't know. Meaning the original what? Way. That's it. Nothing extra. And sticking to your hujjah. And not being moved by someone who's saying something else if you're not sure about it. He may be right. Maybe it is something new. Maybe it is something extra. But I'm going to stick with what? What I know for sure. And that is that I read inside Bukhari that the Prophet ﷺ did this and he did that. What you're talking about, the khilaf, maybe, mumkin. I don't know. But for sure I have what? Yaqeen. And that is a tremendously important principle for the student of knowledge, for the scholar, and for the layman Muslim. Stick to your guns. When in doubt, what? Do without. When in doubt, you do what? You understand this? Without rejecting the next person. Maybe there is a hadith that states that. Mumkin. Maybe. I haven't read all the hadiths, but I know for sure that I did what? I read this one. That this is what the Prophet did when he made salah. Or this is how the Prophet fasted. Or this is what the Prophet did on Hajj. I know for sure that the Prophet ﷺ said, let the beard grow. Is there hadith stating that he trimmed his beard? Did Imam Malik say that people show off by having very long beards? Is that what the ulama of the past said? Don't grow your beard too long, you should trim your beard. Maybe they did. Mumkin. La adri. So I read in Sahih Bukhari and Sahih Muslim, let the beard grow. Do not touch the beard. Trim the mustache. So until I have further yaqeen or further detail, I'm going to what? Stick with that. You understand this? And you won't be punished if you do that. So there are principles for the layman. And there are principles for the student of knowledge. To avoid confusion. Wallahu alam. Khairan inshallah. About yesterday's hadiths. Nawawi, he says, قال القاضي هذا النزول هذا الرجال وقد ذكره مسلم صريحا في حديث جابر قال فصلى ثم خطب الناس فلما فرغ نزل فأتى النساء فذكرهن فهذا صل في أنه أتاهن بعد فراغ خطبة الرجال وفي هذه الأحاديث استحباب وعظ النساء وتذكيرهن الآخرة وأحكام الإسلام وحثهن على الصدقة وهذا إذا لم يترتب على ذلك مفسدة وخوف على الواعظ أو الموعوظ أو غيرهما وفيه أن النساء إذا حضرن صلاة الرجال ومجامعهم يكن بمعزل عنهم خوفا من فتنة أو نظرة أو فكر ونحوه وفي أن صدقة التطوع لا تفتقر إلى إيجاب وقبول بل تكفي فيها المعاطاة لأنهن ألقين الصدقة في ثوب بلال من غير كلام منهن ولا من بلال ولا من غيره وهذا هو الصحيح في مذهبنا وقال أكثر أصحابنا العراقيين أو العراقيين تفتقر إلى إيجاب وقبول باللفظ كالهبة والصحيح الأول وبه جزم المحققون. No, he says about the hadith last night that Qadi Iyad says that the Prophet ﷺ, he gave the speech to the women in the middle of the speech to the men. He gave the admonishment to the women Not after the khutbah to the men, but in the middle of the khutbah to the men. That's what Qadi Iyad says. That he spoke to the men for 5 minutes, then he what? Walked to the sisters. No, he says, وَلَيْسَ كَمَا قَالَ. He says, and that's not true. That Qadi Iyad is wrong. And this is another example among hundreds that we've explained, which slays the foul beast of taqleed and taqdis, putting someone on a pedestal and worshiping them and making them holy and beyond approach and beyond reproach and criticism. And that if you say that this is wrong, I don't agree, you're disrespecting a scholar. And you're thinking that you're better than a scholar and you know more than a scholar. This slays that beast. Laysa kama qal. No, he says that's not true. Who came before? Who would explain Sahih Muslim first? Qadi Iyad or Nawawi? Where would Nawawi be without Qadi Iyad's commentary? It would be nothing. But at the same time, he said what? Sorry, that's not right. That's not true. So there is no absolute blind following of anyone besides Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Period. There is no person that's holy and placed on a frame and we hang them on the wall in a museum. We put them in a vault. And everything this person says and does is absolutely perfect. And no, that's not true. Everyone understand? It's not a living day scholar, nor someone who what? Passed. Ahmed, Ibn Taymiyyah, this one, that one, Abadan. And that does not necessitate what? Degrading them or disrespecting them. Everyone understand this? As the people who try to promote and force it upon the people. All right? And the hypocritical thing, as we've said before, is that they'll say this: if you differ with Sheikh Fulan, you're disrespecting him. And you're saying that you're better than him. And you're thinking that you're a mufti and you're this and you're this and you're that. No problem. But how many scholars do you disrespect? When this scholar who goes against your agenda and your propaganda and criticizes you or this sheikh, you drop that sheikh like a hot coffee mug. Instantly. He's no longer a scholar. Burn his books, burn his tapes, get rid of him. He's a dog. He has no value. But just yesterday, he was a what? A scholar. Whether he's right or wrong, maybe he is mistaken, but isn't he still a what? The Prophet ﷺ, he says, إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يَقْبِضُ الْإِلْمِ انْتِزَاعًا مِنْ صُدُورِ الرِّجَالِ. أو كما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام. He says that Allah doesn't snatch knowledge from the breasts of men. Allah does not take knowledge away from men. They just don't go to sleep and forget what they studied. He takes knowledge away by giving people death, taking away the ulama of Islam. So whether he's wrong or right, deviant or not, he still studied and memorized what? Islam. He's been a scholar for 30 years. So if he differed with Sheikh Fulan, or he doesn't like these brothers anymore, does that now demote him from being an alim? You see the games that people are playing here? Let alone disrespecting him. So you don't have, and we've said this before, whether that alhamdulillah, we take pride in this, exposing them. You have no respect for scholars in your heart. You don't respect scholars. You respect money. You respect dunya. You respect power and authority over people. And anyone who gets in your way, you will immediately mow them down to keep the reins of power and to monopolize Salafiyah in the West. And the proof for that is, the last 20 years, how many scholars have you refuted and thrown under the bus, who visited you, who came to your centers, who spoke with you, who helped you out, who gave you money, and you've discarded all of them the moment that they go against your what? Your agenda of you being the only people who control it and monopolizing it. And obviously with monopolizing the Salafis comes money, comes women, comes power, comes authority, comes status, comes houses and cars and a million other things that you get by being in control. This is the reality of the situation now. So they have built a culture, and you must give them credit. You have to. You must congratulate them. They've made for themselves an impregnable fortress. And that is, we are the only ones that you go back to for information. And the only reason why it's only us, because these scholars endorse us. And they protect that scholar or those scholars from any criticism. Anyone who says anything about them, writes a book, he's a shaitan, he's a ikhwani, he's this, he's that. Don't listen to anything. And anyone who says anything about us is jealous, is envious, he's a deviant, he's attacking the Salafis, and he's quiet about Ahlul Bidah. You have to congratulate them. They've made this force field around themselves. And what happens? The biggest thing that they use is scholars. We have scholars behind us. It's just Brother Fulan talking, doing his own classes. He thinks he's a scholar. He's not a scholar. We have the scholars. We translate the scholars' books. And he writes a book. Everyone understand this? And if you try to bring some light to the situation and explain to the people the difference between following and blind following, the difference between a student of knowledge and a layman, the difference between respecting a scholar and worshiping him, the difference between ihtiram, ta'zim, and taqdis. The first thing that they say is that you don't what? Disrespecting the scholars. You're talking about the scholars, and who would talk about a scholar in his right mind? What Muslim would talk about a scholar? إِنَّمَا يَخْشَى اللَّهَ مِنْ عِبَادِهِ الْعُلَمَاءِ. Allah praises the scholars. The hadiths talk about the scholars. The Salaf praises the scholars. Hassan al-Basri says if it wasn't for the scholars, the people would be like Bahaim. They would be like animals. They would be like livestock. Who would disrespect a scholar? See, he's evil. Look at him. This is what they have done. And they make that the cardinal sin in the book. And that makes sense. But in actuality, it's a great, big, fat lie. And that is because their history, and you go on their websites, Allah, how many articles they've taken down, how many videos they've taken down, how many retractions they've made, and they've freed themselves from scholars that went against their agenda. And they spoke down against those scholars, and they degraded them and disrespected them and demoted them. So it's not about scholars. It's about power and control. And any scholar that legitimizes us, we support and endorse him. And the moment that scholar is no longer with us, what do? He's out the window. And look what's going on now. They say, Sa'afiqa. Sheikh Fulan, is he not a scholar? Just yesterday, was he not at the top of the list? Now he's what? Nasiyan Mansiyan, a student of knowledge now, if that. So whether he's right or wrong, he's still a doctor, if I'm not mistaken. He's still a professor. He still teaches the Sunnah. So he's still an alim. Are we supposed to still respect him? They say, no, you don't understand. You don't understand these affairs. Go back to the scholars. But I thought he's a scholar. So it's a big fat lie and a big fat game that they've been playing for all of these years. And it sounds easy for you to just submit to. It makes sense. Well, you just take a little bit of focus. You focus the lens. You see what type of games are being played here. So it is never, ever from the way of the ulama of Islam is that every alim, we agree with every single thing that they say and that they do. And that there's no criticism that's ever made. If someone is older than you, they came before you, they're more knowledgeable than you, it does not mean that they cannot make a what? An error. And that error is pointed out with respect, but at the end of the day, the error is what? It's pointed out. And we see that here. An-Nawawi says, وَلَيْسَ كَمَنْ قَالَ. Qadi Iyad said something, but Nawawi says what? He says that's not the case. Now, step number 2, Islam. Very important now. What is the proof that this sheikh is wrong? Or even if he's not wrong, we differ with his ijtihad. He may be right, but we don't agree. What's the dalil? What's the principle? An-Nawawi, he says, listen carefully. He says very carefully. He says, listen. He says, إنما نزل إليهن بعد فراغ خطبة العيد وبعد انقضاء وعد الرجال وقد ذكره مسلم صريحا. He says that Imam Muslim mentions a specific version of this narration that he got down and he went to the women after بعد فراغ, after he finished the khutbah of the men. So the reason why Nawawi is different when called the Iyad is not just to differ. Not because he doesn't like him or he wants to be better than him, but it's because of the what? The dalil. And this goes to show you that the more a scholar knows about the Sunnah, the better his interpretation will be. And the better his ijtihad will be. The more knowledgeable you'll be of the specifics of the more detailed ilm you have of what? Hadith. Hadith is superior. So that's Nawawi, that's what he's saying. The only reason why I call the Iyad isn't right is because of what Imam Muslim mentions of a specific version that the Prophet only gave the speech to the women after he what? Finished speaking about the men. He finished the khutbah, it was done. And then he gave them an additional talk. He gave them what? An additional talk. Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala, he then says, فهذا صريح في أنه أتاهن بعد فراغ خطبة الرجال. He says this is clear and frank. There's no interpretation that he only spoke to them after he was done speaking to the what? To the men. I understand this? And that's another principle, is that when we have something which is clear and obvious and apparent, it doesn't matter what a sheikh or this sheikh says or thinks or feels. Malish, I'm sorry. The dalil is crystal clear. We cannot accept this fatwa. We cannot accept this statement that you make about this person. We know Brother Fulan for sure. I've known him for 20 years. We all known him for 20 years. His pedigree, what he teaches, what he calls to, his books is crystal clear. What you're saying about him, we cannot accept. Unless you bring proof which is decisive. And saying that someone is dalal, mudil, shaitan, he's this, he's that, he harms the Salafis, that's not what? Nothing about that is decisive. That's fluff. You stuff a pillow with that. There's no science. This person, kada, point, dalil, evidence, proof, witnesses, documentation, a person's voice being recorded. This is what he said. Not just people making up stuff and saying that whack, fluff, in which you just say, oh, he's a deviant, stay away from him. What is this? Somebody that's been your teacher for 10 years, someone just mysteriously says he's a deviant, stay away from him. You abandon everything that he taught you? And he's been calling you to the Sunnah. He gave you your shahada. He brought you into Islam. He taught you how to grow a beard, how to pray, how to do this. Now this vague statement is made and you just what? Abandon him. That's not right. It's wrong. All right? So it has to be something which is clear. Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala, he says in these hadiths is the recommendation of giving an admonishment to women and reminding them of the hereafter and teaching them the rulings of al-Islam. And we explained this last night. Not to keep women ignorant, as many chauvinistic men do. Have a baby, raise a child, and that's it. Khalas. You don't need to know about the deen. You don't need to read. You don't need to study. All right? It's not important for women to have a class. There shouldn't be a women's class. There shouldn't be a khutbah about women or a book for women. We don't need that. Sisters don't need that. Most cultures are like this, unfortunately. And as we said in Malaysia to that sister from Afghanistan, what they do in Afghanistan is not necessarily the deen and the sunnah. Women being illiterate. And she said the more Islamic that Afghanistan became, the harsher things were towards women. And there were illiteracy, women were abused, mutilation. And that is not the what? The sunnah. It's not the teachings of the deen. Moving forward. And this also shows the recommendation of encouraging women to give sadaqah. As long as there is no mafsada or fear upon the one speaking or upon the one who's being spoken to. He says, al-wa'idh wal-maw'udh. The speaker is a fitna, him talking to these women and interacting with them. Or the woman who's listening or watching or interacting is a what? Fitna upon her. Now, it has to be what? You stay away from that. Everyone understand this? He says, rahimahullah, أو غيرهما, or what? Anyone else. Anyone else. This hadith, it also shows, he says, is that when women come to where men are, they should not be intertwined with them. Bima'sil, they should be removed from them. So, if we read a fatwa, the Sheikh Abdul Aziz bin Baz, rahimahullah, says, women should not be mixed with men in the classroom or in the masjid. Do not refute Sheikh bin Baz and say he's a Wahhabi and this is Saudi agenda. No, we don't take this. But you now have to refute Nawawi, who died hundreds of years before bin Baz, who wasn't from Saudi Arabia and wasn't Hanbali. So the concept of free mixing and men being all jolly and chipper with women and sitting and drinking coffee and donuts and shaking hands and hugging and kissing and all that stuff, it's not something that is new that the ulama just made up. It has to be avoided. It's something which is what? Which is old. And there are people before Nawawi who came up with this, let alone the text of the Quran and the Sunnah. Everyone understand this? And that's what most people do when they talk about Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab. They don't even realize that there were people who came before Ibn Abdul Wahhab who said the same thing. They're attacking him for something that he did not what? Make up. He did not invent. Right or what? Or wrong. But the fact is that he's not the first person who what? Who brought it. Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala, he then says, خوفا من فتنة أو نظرة أو فكر ونحوه. Out of fear that there will be a fitna. Or he says what? Looking. Or he says, listen, he says what? Oh, fikrin. Thinking. Fantasizing about this sister. Or fantasizing what? About this Quran teacher. This makharij. طيب. ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله. That's a sin, Abdul Qawi. Not a what? Not a sword. طيب. Be mindful of that, Khalid. Tahsin, right? Be mindful. If you take on a sister student, Abdul Raqib, be mindful. Fitna. Or nadra. Or what? Fikr. Look at the beauty of that speech. The actual fitna of you touching her. Footsie, She's sitting on your foot. Mistakenly, magically does what? Touches her. Oh, subhanAllah. Right? Or she passes you something. SubhanAllah, right? Let's be real now. Let's keep it what? Let's keep it real, Or you're in the market, she gives you your change, right? And you hold your hand out for like five extra seconds. And then you grab it and pull it back like that. Because it's a fitna. Because of what? A fitna, let alone something what? Worse than that. Or if not, he says, nadratin. Then you what? You gaze. And you start staring. And you don't turn your head away from her or from him. Or if you don't look, at least you'll what? The thought will come across, right? So be mindful of that, huh? Be mindful of what? Of all of these things, huh? We ask Allah to purify all of our intentions. I mean, moving forward. طيب. There are many other fawaid, summarizing some of them. طيب. Moving forward. Nawawi, he says, وفي هذا الحديث جواز صدقة المرأة من مال أو من مالها بغير إذن زوجها ولا يتوقف ذلك على ثلث مالها هذا مذهبنا ومذهب الجمهور وقال مالك لا يجوز زيادته على ثلث مالها إلا برضا زوجها. He says this hadith also proves, somebody mentioned this last night, that a woman is allowed to give a charity from her own wealth without her husband's permission. A woman can give charity, she can pay alms, give alms, donate from her own money. Listen carefully, he says what? Min maliha, not from what? Min malihi, her wealth, without the husband's what? Permission. Moving forward. He says, and it isn't just a third. It's not just a third. He says that's our madhab. The Shafi'i madhab is that a woman can give all of her money in sadaqah, or half of it. It doesn't just have to be what? A third. Malik said she cannot give more than 1/3 of her wealth unless her husband gives her permission. She cannot give more than 1/3 of her wealth unless it's what? Her husband gives her what? Now listen, we're talking about whose money now? Not his. Malik said unless the husband is pleased. This hadith doesn't stipulate that detail. So we go with what? What the Athar says. Everyone understand this? Moving forward. And an example of Qawi of someone who's Maliki, or who was Maliki, or studied the madhab Maliki, but he's trying to follow the Athar. A person says, the madhab of Malik, our Imam, is that a woman can't give more than 1/3 of her wealth unless her husband says okay. But we don't agree with that. And we take this narration. But I was taught in Algeria. That's why I learned Quran. I recite Warsh. I learned Maliki fiqh. That's what I'm proficient in. But in this issue, I don't what? Agree because this hadith. If that's your concept of a madhab, nothing wrong with that. That's what? Nothing wrong with that. But if you say, and you look at the hadith, and the hadith is crystal clear, they gave earrings, they gave bracelets, they gave gold. How costly were those things? How much money did the Ansari and the Muhajirat have? They threw their things in Bilal's garment, and he collected them. It states nothing about the husband's pleasure. It states nothing about a thuluth. I don't care what the hadith says. I'm what? I'm Maliki. If that's your definition of a madhab, then we say what? No. La madhab. Here, it's bid'ah. For you to practice Islam like that. Everyone understand the difference? I was trained in the Maliki madhab. I've studied the Maliki books. That's the most of the fiqh that I know is the fiqh of Maliki. Nothing wrong with that. But this hadith makes sense to me. I'm going to go outside of it. I'm Shafi'i. I'm Hanafi. طيب. I'm Hanbali. Not being a staunch bigot. I don't care what the dalil says. It's not the madhab of Ahmad ibn Hanbal. We say no to that madhab. Or that concept of a tamadhub. طيب. He says that is the view of the Shafi'i madhab and most of the ulama. What? Most of the ulama is that she can give as much as she wants is from her wealth, and she does not need the permission of her husband based off of this. Imam Malik said he cannot give more than 1/3 unless her husband is okay with it. ودليلنا من الحديث أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم لم يسألهن استئذان أزواجهن في ذلك أم لا وهل هو خارج من الثلث أم لا. He says, in our proof, the highlighting proof from the hadith is that the Prophet requested them to give sadaqah, and he did not ask them, did you ask your husband's permission or not? Nor did he ask them, is it more than 1/3 or not? He asked them for the money, and they what? They gave the money. And that is organic fiqh. That's what we call what? Organic fiqh. Extracting it right from the what? Right from the text. Right from the text. Moving forward. He says here, وأشار القاضي إلى الجواب عن مذهبهم بأن الغالب حضور أزواجهن فتركهم على الإنكار يكون رضاء بفعلهن وهذا الجواب ضعيف أو باطل. Allahu Akbar. He says, whatever what I said, you know the two words ضعيف and what? Batil. So it's some reputation that's coming, right? Someone's about to get what? Cut. For sure. We know that. No, he says, Qadi Iyad, who explained it before and who was Maliki, he countered that argument. He did what? He countered the argument. And he said, is that 9 out of 10 times the women only went to the Eid with their husbands. And their husbands didn't say, you can't give wealth, you can't give more than a third while asking me. So the husbands being silent and being there proves that they were what? Okay with it. Everyone understand the counter? So Qadi Iyad is Maliki. He's going to say, some scholars may say that this proves that a woman can give more than a third of her wealth without her husband's permission. And that's a dalil. And he's going to do what now? Counter it. He says, no. The men were there. They didn't say anything. And it proves that they were what? Okay with it. Everyone understand this? Right. He says here. He says, due to the fact that they kept silent, proves that they were pleased with it. No, he says that this answer is one or two things. It's either da'if or what? Batil. He says either weak or totally false. Once more, what I just explained. There is no what? Qadi Iyad said it, so deaf, dumb, and blind. Right? Sheikh Fulan said it, so let me what? Stop thinking. He came before me, he's older than me, he's from the Middle East, there's no thinking. That's not the way of the ulama. That's not the what? That is not the way of the ulama. And differing with someone does not mean that you have to disrespect them. Does not mean that, as we just explained. There's another example for that. He says that this view is weak and false. What would the people today say if a modern day scholar says Fulan is an innovator, Fulan is a deviant, or this is wrong, protesting is haram, or you can't do this, and a student of knowledge said that's da'if or batil? What would they say about him in Islam? They would say he's not Salafi, you're a deviant, you're going to the hellfire, so on and so forth. You can't even use that word. Everyone understand this? No, he says that this is batil or da'if or batil. Why? What's the proof? Once more, the next step. What's the dalil that that statement is wrong? He says, لِأَنَّهُنَّ كُنَّ مُعْتَزِلَاتٍ لَا يَعْلَمُ مِنْهُنَّ إِلِهَا وَلَا قَدْرَ وَمَا قَدَرَ مَا يَتَصَدَّقُ بِهِ وَلَوْ عَلِمُوا فَسُكُوتُهُمْ لَيْسَ إِذْنًا. Allah proof for that. What's the dalil? Which says what? What part of the hadith? He says that the women were far from the men. That's first and foremost. The women were what? So the men didn't know who was giving the sadaqah, how much sadaqah was given, because they were what? They were separated. So that answers what? Out the window. And even if they kept silent about it, that's not permission, because the sadaqah was already. Everyone's saying they got to be what? You got to be witty. You got to have dhaka to study comparative fiqh, to study hadith. Everyone understand this? You have to be what? You got to be on point. Everyone understand this? Tayyib. Tayyib. He says here, when Bilal radiallahu anhu spread out his thobe to collect the sadaqah, the Prophet ﷺ would then just give it out to the people who needed it, right? Sadaqat, zakat, whatever it was, right? وفيه دليل على أن الصدقات العامة إنما يصرفها في مصارفها الإمام. He says, and this proves that the leader of the Muslims is the one who disperses and passes out and distributes the general sadaqah. If it's not specific zakat for the poor, for this or for that, general donations, general collections, he does it as he what? As he sees fit. As what? As he sees fit. He then says, قوله لإعطاء أحقا على الإمام الآن أن يأتي النساء حين يفرغ فيذكرهن قال إيه لا عمري إن ذلك لحق وما لهم لا يفعلون ذلك. قال القاضي هذا الذي قاله عطاء غير موافق عليه وليس كمن قال القاضي بل يستحب إذا لم يسمعهن أن يأتيهن بعد فراغه ويعظهن ويذكرهن إذا لم يترتب الآن وفي كل الأزمان بالشروط المذكورة وأي دافع يدفعنا عن هذه السنة الصحيحة والله أعلم. He says that it states here in Sahih Muslim that li'ata, it was said here, and we'll read the narration in Sahih Muslim. It says, قلت لعطاء حقا على الإمام الآن أن يأتي النساء حين يفرغ فيذكرهن قال إيه لعمري إن ذلك لحق عليهم ما لهم وما لهم لا يفعلون ذلك. It says here that I said to Ata, Jabir, he says, I said to Ata, is that a duty? Is that the job of the Imam to do this now? To go and speak to the women and explain things to the women like the Prophet ﷺ used to do? He says, la'amri. He says, I swear. La'amri, I swear by my life. He's swearing that that is what? The duty of the Imam. To speak to the women and give them a special address. He says, وَمَا لَهُمْ لَا يَفْعَلُونَ ذَلِكَ. He says, and why shouldn't he? Or why don't the people do that today? Once again, this is in the time of the It's Jabir and Ata from the Tabi'een, which goes to show you certain things were left off and abandoned back then. Everyone understand this? Moving forward. Know what he says about this? That Qadi Iyad said about that statement, غَيْرُ مُوَافَقٍ عَلَيْهِ. We don't agree with him. So Qadi Iyad is not different with one of the... See how it goes now? There's no person's statement who's holy. It's open. We agree or we what? Or we disagree. He says, no, he then says, وَلَيْسَ كَمَا قَالَ الْقَاضِي. He says, we don't what? Agree with Qadi Iyad. So Qadi Iyad differed with Ata. And no, he's not different what? Qadi Iyad. Everyone understand this? Use your what? Your brain. He says, rahimahullah ta'ala, it is recommended if the Imam does not allow, if the women can't hear, he should go to them and speak to them after he finishes, as long as there is no fitna based off of the conditions that we previously what? Mentioned. Listen to this golden rule. He says, وَأَيُّ دَافِئٍ يَدْفَعُنَا عَنْ هَذِهِ السُنَّةِ الصَّحِيحَةِ. He says, what could prevent us from implementing this authentic sunnah? Allahu Akbar. That's a qaida. Let the sunnah go forth what? Don't stop it. There's no reason not to do it. Why shouldn't we implement the sunnah? Why shouldn't we implement this act? Whether it's obligatory or recommended. Everyone understand this? Nothing should hold us back from implementing what? The sunnah. Whether you're Shafi'i, Hanafi, or wherever you are, wherever you come from. Everyone understand this? Tayyib. Last but not least, what we'll stop with tonight, one may say, even if the women can hear, he should give some type of special address to the women. Because who said that the women didn't hear him? Where's that found at? Did we ever mention that in the hadith? No. That the women didn't hear him? It doesn't state that. It says he spoke, then he did what? Now, one may say, it clearly states that the women were separated. Clear. But how big was the congregation? And just because they were away from the men does not mean that they didn't hear him. It does not mean that. Let alone the fact that just because the women didn't hear the men, what does that have to do? What does that have to do? What does that have to do with the Prophet going to them and telling them to give sadaqah? Rather, the Zahir, wallahu alam, it seems as if they heard him and he wanted to give them a special command to give the sadaqah. With regards to women being in the hellfire, the majority of the people in the fire, them being ungrateful, them being disrespectful, give sadaqah to protect yourselves. Wallahu alam, that seems the zahir. Everyone understand this? So one may say, is that the imam, even if he doesn't walk towards them, he should give them a special what? Address in the khutbah, which was already general for everybody. Which was already what? General for everyone. Understand this? And if a person said that it is this sunnah to finish the khutbah and walk closer to the sisters and speak to them, that's not ba'id. That's not what? That's not far-fetched. Because that's what's apparent from that. Then obviously you're going to have to deal with husbands and brothers on the Eid. Why are you going to the sisters, Yahi? Why are you talking to the sisters, Yahi? Stay away from the sisters. Security, right? Stay away from the sisters. Don't go near the chicken flock, the chicken coop, That's how the brothers are today, unfortunately. Wala hawla wala quwwata illa billah. And for some brothers, after Qawi, maybe for good reason. You stay away from my wife, right? Wallahu alam. Jazakumullah.